Today, you get a one-on-one behind-the-scenes / coaching session with me, during which I'm sharing everything I know about team building in your business. As usual, this isn't coming from me as I'm some kind of expert in team building. I am sharing where I am currently, what I've experienced, and advising you based on what's worked for me and with what I know. So meanwhile, I am absolutely breaking all the podcast rules because my husband has decided to mow the lawn right now. So if you happen to hear a rumble roll by, that's what's going on. It is what it is if it's in the background of this audio. If not, that just means that we have an amazing team and amazing software, and we can do that to your audio as well. So during today's episode, we are diving into the many ways that you can go from being a stressed solo entrepreneur or solopreneur to a supported CEO with extra white space on your calendar. There have been comments made by me or my guests in past episodes about outsourcing, hiring contractors, and hiring employees, but none of those episodes really dissected the thought process, hiring procedure, how-tos, or risks of expanding your team. That's what we're doing in this episode. So in about 20 minutes from now, you'll be armed with everything you need to decide your next steps toward getting other people to support your vision in your business. First, there are 3 different ways you can establish a team. One is outsourcing to other service-based businesses. This is where you sign a contract and completely offload an entire task or group of tasks to a different business. I've done this with my bookkeeping and taxes with 2 different parties. I pay both my bookkeeper and my CPA a standard monthly payment, and they keep the books, tell me how much to pay in taxes, and ask me for receipts sometimes. There's more to it, but you get the idea. My clients outsource podcast production to me. They sign a production contract with Podcast Abundance that details the services we're providing for a particular rate. They pay that monthly rate, and we take care of all the editing, show notes, scheduling, strategy, posting, and sometimes even social media or blog posts for their show. These clients have offloaded the entire podcast production process to my business so they can focus on other parts of their business, like operations and sales. The second way to establish a team is by hiring contractors. A contractor is anyone who performs tasks for your business for an hourly or task-based rate. Could be short-term or long-term. And contractors can be in-person or remote and will typically receive payment via PayPal, bank transfer, or if they invoice you, depending on the platform that they use, you could even pay with your credit card. Most commonly discussed contractor type is like a VA, virtual assistants. They're often asked to perform administrative tasks like file organization, managing email, social media posts, and even appointment setting. But VAs aren't the only type of contractor. They're just kind of like a hot term that's come up over the past few years. You can hire an online business manager, also called an OBM, various editors, graphic designers, marketing whizzes, website support. Many options come in the form of contractor support for your business. My business at this time is made up of me plus about 10 contractors. So we'll get into more details about that throughout this episode. Have you ever pictured yourself having your own show? Maybe it's time. This show is edited and produced by podcastabundance.com. And if you like what we're doing, we can do it for your business too. I'm Virginia Elder, and I've been helping entrepreneurs start podcasts to market their business since 2019. I coach you through branding, structuring your episodes, workflow, and recording your podcast. Then my team and I professionally edit your audio and video so that you don't have to. We'll even write your episode descriptions and titles so that when potential customers turn to Google, your show appears in their search results. Establish authority in your niche, expand your reach, and create a library of helpful content for potential and current clients, all with your own podcast. I'm here to hold your hand and make podcasting the exciting, up-leveling experience it should be, skirting you past the tech and software struggles too. Take the first step by booking a call with me using the link in the show notes or by visiting podcastabundance.com. Now, on to the rest of the show. Let's clarify that contractors are not employees. There is a big difference for tax and law purposes, but then also for the operations of your business. Contractors can work whenever and wherever they like using their own equipment, software, and acquired skills. They can work for as many companies as they want, and the payment, like I mentioned earlier, is generally based on per project or per task. They can be hourly, but contractors are always responsible for filing and paying their own taxes. They generally aren't provided any training, and when someone hires a contractor, it's typically because that contractor has a very specific expertise in an area, like maybe they're an SEO expert or a blog writing expert or an audio editing expert, right? Now, in contrast, employees work specific, very consistent hours, typically at a particular location, following specific employer-regulated methods. They're paid standard hourly or salary wages, all dictated by the employer. Employees don't generally have the authority to hire anyone to help them or to contract out any pieces of their work. The employer is generally responsible for acquiring and providing equipment, software, and even training that the employee would need to properly perform their job. The main difference between these two things is the level of control available by the business owner. So that's you and I. As you might have guessed, the third way that you can build a team is by hiring employees. Full-time or part-time employee help can be welcome, since generally an employee is fully committed to supporting your business for the duration of their work hours. You'll provide the training and equipment, and you can generally plan for a long-term relationship during which they progressively take on more work. But when you're hiring an employee, you must realize that you are responsible for payroll costs, payroll itself, withholding appropriate federal and Medicare taxes, especially here in the US, and Social Security from employee paychecks. That process in itself opens an entire additional can of worms with your bookkeeper or CPA. So before going this route, I want you to know all of your options. And that's what's coming up next. How do you choose to outsource to hire contractors or to hire employees? How do you know what's best for your business? Now, there are three main things. So there were three options, right? Now there are three main things you need ready before you ever even think about posting any kind of we're hiring note or anything on social media, right? 1, financial readiness. 2, written operating procedures. 3, a comprehensive role description. So let's start with financial readiness. No matter which team building option you choose, so outsourcing, contractors, or employees, you need a savings account with at least 3 months worth of pay for this new role set aside. Since lack of cash flow is the number one reason small businesses fail, you want to get yourself into a position primed for success before you bring someone else into the fold. If you're considering outsourcing to a service provider, get a comprehensive quote for the services you want. Multiply that times 3, and then just start setting aside money toward that goal. If you want to hire a contractor, you can start small with just 2 hours or 1 task per week. Figure out how much you're willing to pay each week, multiply that out to find the monthly cost, and then start saving toward the 3-month cost of that contractor. For example, I most recently hired a social media engagement manager. This was a big move for me because this person needs to be able to interact as me in my voice, fully embodying who I am, my values, and the way that I would speak to people on social media for me. Her rate is at $20 per hour, and she's started out at 2 hours per day or 10 hours per week. So I was careful here to say 2 hours per day or 10 hours per week, because again, when you're hiring a contractor, you can't dictate exactly when they choose to work. So I have to be flexible in any contractor hire to be able to say this or that. As long as things equal out at the end of the week, we're cool. So for 1 month of work, that equals 40 hours times $20, which is $800. This began as a 30-day trial, and she did great. And so we expanded this role into a 3-month trial. If things are going well at that point, I'll consider moving it to a 6-month contract with her. To begin, however, I needed $2,400 in a separate savings account just for this role, just in case things hit the fan. That's besides other savings goals I have for the business. Separating this hiring savings from your other financial endeavors is very important for the health of your business and just for peace of mind for you as a business owner. All right, the second must do before you ever think about announcing that you're hiring help is written procedures. So I completely understand resisting the need to document every single thing that you do. It's hard. It's tedious. It feels like it requires extra time that you already don't have because you're just trying to do the things as fast as possible and get them out the door because you have a business to run. But here's how to get set up well to be able to hire someone to get all of that busyness off of your plate. First, consider which tasks you want to delegate or outsource and how you'll communicate this with a provider. This is where you get into terms like written procedures, SOPs. SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedure. An SOP, let's not get it twisted, It's just a simple set of instructions as to how you want something done for your business. If you're hiring a VA, for example, to help with social media, before hiring them, it's important that you've taken the time to create a document with written instructions about how you want your social media graphics, captions, reels, or stories created and posted on all of the different platforms. If you don't have the time to write a detailed standard operating procedure or SOP about what you want help with, then you definitely don't have time to communicate back and forth with a new hire, show them how you want something done, correct work that you weren't happy with, or respond to 50 questions, because trust me, they will have them, especially if you didn't provide clear instructions up front. So, draft the procedure you want your new hire to follow. There should be a separate SOP or set of instructions for each thing you want them to do. We have SOPs for each client's podcast posting process because not all clients' shows contain the same components, and they don't all host in the same host account. So everyone's process looks different. We also have SOPs for blog posts, social media posts, how to delegate new work that comes in, how to organize audio and video files, which contractor needs which type of files, and much, much more. All of that did not happen overnight. My online business manager and I have been working on building a library of SOPs for at least the past year, probably longer. Now, with that being said, don't try to write all of your SOPs at once. Create the one that details the task on which you need immediate help. So often this happens to me when I'm feeling stressed about something and I'm walking through the process, doing something and thinking, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Why am I the one doing this? And right then and there, I'll take some screenshots of the steps that I take to do that task, and I write up some instructions, and you better believe that my OBM has an email that night with this new, somewhat written SOP. Then it's her job, and this is something that we've negotiated and discussed, and she's grown into this role. But at this point, it's her job then to take those very quickly written instructions that I provided and try to go through the task herself and adjust, add, and fix the instructions to where they really are comprehensive. Then it's a complete SOP. So when you create the standard operating procedure documents for the tasks on which you need immediate help, this alleviates the level of back and forth communication, questions, all of those things. Because when you find someone to fill that role, they can dive into that task immediately because they have all the instructions right in front of them. That is so much better than getting partial instructions that are just cobbled together on the fly once the clock is already ticking. Now, the third thing, you must have a comprehensive role description. This is the job posting, essentially. This document provides written guidelines for tasks, not in detail like the standard procedures, but at least a list of what this person is supposed to do for you. It's going to have expectations, responsibilities, communication, how they're supposed to invoice you, and what the rate is for the work you're hiring for. This is a great place to communicate your company values, your mission statement, and any non-negotiables you have around this position. That could be like a, once a month touch base meeting, or a wrap up email at the end of each week. You can have some things that you require on this role, even from a contractor, but you're still not policing the time or the number of hours or even the hours of their day on which they're working for you in your business. Now, with this level of clarity on the type of person you're looking for, what their responsibilities and communication should look like, and how much they'll be paid, applicants will self-segment, which results in a smaller number of highly qualified applicants that align with your values and your vision. I don't know about you, but I'd rather get 5 highly qualified, perfect applicants in my inbox than 25 that I have to sort and sift through that may or may not be a good fit. Which one is a better use of your time as a business owner? So by creating a really comprehensive role description that includes values, expectations, responsibilities, all of these things, it actually prevents the wrong fits from filling out an application. Whether you're talking about contractors or employees, this helps you avoid having to fire someone, not to mention all the frustration and feelings of failure and wasted money on potentially accidentally hiring the wrong person. It will still happen, but with a clear job description, this is much less likely. Now, you might be thinking that if you're just outsourcing an entire task like bookkeeping to a bookkeeping company or podcast production to a podcast management company, that you don't need a comprehensive job posting. I encourage you not to skip this piece of the process no matter what. Even if it's for your eyes only, go ahead and draft what you believe this outsourcing company's responsibilities should be, how you want them to communicate with you, how often the communication should be. Pack in as many details as possible. Establish your budget range for the outsourced service. Establish how those invoices will come to you and how you'll pay them. Then, when you're actually exploring potential service providers, you can determine whether you're talking to the right company to support your business based on the expectations that you already outlined. To sum up that section, the 3 must-haves before you hire help through outsourcing, hiring a contractor, or hiring an employee are financial readiness, written operating procedures, and a comprehensive role description. There's a concept in the book Traction by Gino Wickman. If you're watching the video, I've got the book here and you can see all my crazy papers sticking out of it. Now, the concept is, and I think I've mentioned this before, it's called right person, right seat. You're in a pickle if you get either of those mixed up. A wrong person in a right seat or a right person in a wrong seat causes headache. I've had both of these. I've hired excellent contractors who were timely, excellent communicators, and great about simplifying our clients' big concepts. But they were in the wrong seat if they're better at, say, short form content creation, but they were hired as a copywriter for blog posts, which is long form content. This was the case of right person since we were a values fit, but wrong seat because they were being forced to create something they weren't good at. The solution for us was to explore different roles within the company. We eventually landed on a short form role for social media where that particular contractor is absolutely thriving. I've also had a wrong person in the right seat. In this case, an audio editor who's great at producing excellent sounding audio, but Their communication, timeliness, and detail-orientedness was lacking. They weren't receptive to feedback, and often our Slack messages felt like an argument. That's a clear misalignment of values, highlighting that yes, I needed an audio editor. So that was the right seat, and that was their expertise, so it's even more the right seat. But that was simply the wrong person for that role in my business because our values and our communication styles didn't align. In both of these situations, I did not have a comprehensive role description before making the hire. You better believe I do now, though. So whether you're hiring or outsourcing for the first time, or you're going through the process for the 15th time, using the 3 must-have pre-hire checklist I've provided will make the process much easier. If you're hiring your first bit of help, you might be wondering where to find these unicorns to help you. At this time, my entire team is made up of trustworthy contractors located inside and outside the United States. I've found all of my contractors inside skill-specific Facebook groups and from other fellow entrepreneurs sharing my job posting with their community. If I was looking for a copywriter contractor, for example, I'd join an extremely active copywriting Facebook group, engage and explore for a couple of weeks, make sure that job postings are allowed, and then do one of those "we're hiring" type of posts. You've seen them before, I'm sure. That post of mine would include a brief description of the role, your company values, and a link to a Google form for applicants to fill out. At the top of that Google form, I have the complete role description document linked there. Then, as a hiring process, I sort through the Google form responses and reach out to the top 3 to schedule a Zoom interview. During the interview, I reference that role description document and emphasize the values component while I'm trying to get to know them. I'm feeling out their energy, listening for communication style indicators, and gauging their expertise during that interview. When I choose one contractor for the role, they always begin as a 30-day trial. Whether the job is task-based or hourly, their performance in the first month determines whether they'll stay for the next 3 months. I've chosen to build a team of contractors at this time because our workloads and due dates fluctuate. So I know that having a strict payroll number to hit each month would be stressful for me at this time. They know that when I have work, it will be delegated. But when some of that work drops off and we get thin, less work is available. That is the contractor relationship. And I set up those expectations at the beginning of our working relationship. So let's talk about how often you should hire and how many people to hire. Each new hire or outsourced role requires a few months of communication, high volumes of information transfer, and a lot of attention before it runs so smoothly you forget about it. For this reason, I do not recommend hiring for several roles or outsourcing to several companies in the same month. Building out the team should happen methodically, one at a time, with a minimum of 3 months between each new outsourcing agreement or new contractor or new employee. For one, this gives you time to shore up your financial reserves with 3 months of pay for each new role. But the biggest reason is so that you can get that one person onboarded correctly, have a couple of work/pay cycles together, establish a solid feedback loop, and begin to see the results. even if those results are simply more free time for you since someone else is doing the task work. You want that one new hire role to feel like the new normal before venturing into another hiring process. You need to be used to managing yourself plus another before you take on more. Once things are going smoothly, then you can explore that next hiring decision. As far as the question of how many people to hire, my preference is a team of well-rounded experts that is few in number but mighty. For example, I'd rather have a single social media manager who creates graphics, reels, drafts captions, modifies posts per platform, schedules the posts, interacts with comments, and basically takes care of everything as far as social media. That's a dream unicorn social media manager. That's one person that removes an entire gamut of to-dos and really the entire social media genre of tasks off of my list. Managing that one person doing this broad role and being an expert at the entire piece is way easier for me to manage than 4 people that do 4 different pieces of the social media management engagement, right? The only trouble is that someone of that caliber is probably going to charge a minimum of $2,000 per month. Ideally, you'll find someone that will start smaller with 1 or 2 tasks at a comparable rate for those smaller tasks, and then graduate slowly into the full-blown social media manager role. I love it when a contractor, their role, and you as a business owner can grow together. It's a really beautiful thing. This is the best scenario because it's highly likely that you aren't really ready to relinquish control of everything social media in one go. The trust just isn't there yet. But if you could write out a procedure for one task at a time for this new contractor and add wages or hours accordingly over a 6-month period, not only does this allow your contractor to acquire skills, but it will help you mature as a delegator. It allows your budget for this role to increase slowly, and the trust between the two of you grows over time. I have several long-term contractors whose role has grown and shifted over a 3-year period, based not just what on I need support with, but also what the industry trends are and what clients are asking for. The greatest number of people any one person can manage well with full attention is 3 to 5. I'm sitting here with a team of 10 contractors, but I don't manage all of them directly. In fact, most of them have task-based roles and don't require management. This is where it's helpful to, again, take some advice. And in my case, I'm referencing Traction. And in this book, it teaches you how to create an organizational structure. The key here is to create your ideal organizational structure, not based on who you've already hired and where they fit on the map, but based on what you believe your ideal structure should be for your business. Once you have that, you can start to shift people around and hire based on the roles that you believe are ideal as far as efficiency and proper operations. Now, I've given you a lot to think about. Before we go, I want to share that, again, as an entrepreneur, it's so natural to resist structure, procedures, and that dang organizational chart. That's the stuff that haunts us from corporate, right? I hope I'm not the only one. I know that for the first while of being a solo entrepreneur, I really enjoyed just doing things how I wanted, when I wanted, and the way that I thought was best. I definitely couldn't imagine creating a stupid organizational chart. But here I am, nearly 5 years in, and I actually do see the purpose and benefits for me, for the business, for everyone involved. I'm also starting to see how the people I hired because our values matched stick around long term, flex happily with me as the business morphs each year, and are genuinely excited for each new milestone. We're to the point where I can actually feel it in my bones when clients, contractors, or even service providers are misaligned. If someone would have told me that 5 years ago, I'd have looked at them like they were possessed. So this is cliche at this point, but trust the process. Take one step at a time and move methodically forward toward your goals. I also think that for a really long time, I would hear things like trust the process, and I would just like roll my eyes. But looking back, I mean, that's just truly what it is. It's just this methodical step-by-step movement, month by month, quarter by quarter, setting a goal each time and shooting for that goal. And that over time is what creates growth and progress and grows your team and grows your client base. That is the answer to the growth that we all want. So with all that said, I fully believe in you. If I can do this, you can do this. You've got this. If you have more questions about team building, reach out to me. I will share any resources I have with you and try my best to advise from experience. Like I said, I'm no expert in hiring or contractors versus employees, but I've definitely had to do some of my own research as I'm building the business, and even recently as I hired a couple more people. And it's definitely a process. It definitely requires some thoughtful work around the direction you want your business to go. So that's where we're at this time. And I appreciate you listening and being here. Thank you. We'll be back next week with another interview episode. Take care.